80% of the tax credits that make Obamacare cheaper, 80% of those tax credits go to people in red states. 57% of people who use the ACA marketplace to get healthcare, they are in Republican congressionally controlled districts. The Democrats are fighting to continue those tax credits so that your healthcare is cheaper, when the truth is, the people that benefit from those tax credits the most are not even their constituents. They voted for Trump and they voted for Republicans. There are 39 congressional districts where, had it not been for these tax credits that passed under the Biden administration and that Democrats are trying to renew again right now, those people would have been paying double for their health care. And guess who those people voted for? Trump. Most of those districts are in Texas, Florida, and Georgia. So again, the tax credits that the Democrats are fighting to extend right now were originally passed 4 years ago under the Biden administration, and most people that have been benefiting from those voted for Trump. Like, Biden and the Democrats cut the cost of your healthcare in half, people, and they still voted for Trump. And now the Republicans are going to get rid of your healthcare subsidies, and you're going to be paying on average 115% more.
Let me explain to you liberals why MAGA is so upset about Bad Bunny and this Spanish-speaking Super Bowl halftime show. And the number one reason is not just racism, like everybody says. The real reason, and people never hear this, is that Puerto Rico and the Spanish language and Hispanic music and culture, they all make MAGA feel really insecure. And the reason for that insecurity is that it makes them feel stupid. Now, I can say this with confidence because I used to feel this way. I used to be like these people. I grew up conservative as a Republican. And I remember being, frankly, afraid. I wouldn't have said that in the time, but that's what it was. When people spoke Spanish around me and I didn't understand it, I started to think that they were talking about me, that they were doing something that, was nefarious. Now, is that rooted in racism? Yes, but it's rooted more than anything in ignorance and narcissism, where you think that everything is about you and has to be about you. MAGA, more than being a racist movement, which it is one that is anti-intellectual, that gives a permission structure to shun intellectual curiosity. It's a movement that says you already know everything you need to know and you are right. Facts be damned. What MAGA fears more than anything else is humiliation, is feeling less than. That's why they try to project their superiority onto everyone else. It's the key characteristic of their lives. And nothing makes MAGA more insecure than when they say, if Bad Bunny wants to speak Spanish, he should go back where he came from, back to his country. And then someone informs them, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Bad Bunny is and was born an American citizen. Now, when MAGA watched that halftime show, like last year's halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, they did not understand the cultural references that were displayed visually, that came through the music, came through the dance and choreography, came through the set design. So everything that they are seeing and hearing lacks context. So they just lay onto it their own fears, their own insecurities. Now, because MAGA is an anti-intellectual movement, they don't have the second nature of going, I don't understand this, maybe I should read about it. They just retreat into their corner and brand it as like evil. And look, when I watched that show last night, I didn't understand everything. I don't speak Spanish. I've tried to learn and I've failed. I took college level courses, fully immersive classes, tried Duolingo. Learning a second language is not in the cards for me, but I can still read. And thankfully, when I went to university, because I just could not learn a second language, I was allowed to instead study Latin American culture. And it is rich and worth reading about. And even though I probably took enough courses that I technically could have gotten a minor in Latin American history or culture or something like that, I still didn't understand most of what I saw in real time as I was watching Bad Bunny perform. But I have found it profoundly interesting to, after the fact, look it all up. I did not know when I saw the performance that the light blue field on the Puerto Rican flag was an anti-colonial symbol. I imagine that most Americans watching, when they saw people climbing on telephone poles and like electric coming out, I don't think that most Americans understood that that's a reference to the rolling blackouts and the lack of infrastructure and investment, and how the echoes of colonialism and Puerto Rico's status as an American territory but not a state has denied it the ability to gain all of the benefits of being American, of being American citizens. But for intellectually curious Americans who did not know that, they're reading about that this morning or watching breakdowns on these apps of these things. So look, my only message to MAGA about the Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny is that it feels a lot better to learn, to understand new concepts, than it does to be afraid, to feel stupid, and to be angry. So I'm not going to say go out and buy a book. I'm not going to give any book recommendations. Just read anything about the symbolism and the history that was displayed last night. Because as foreign and as alien as it may feel, it's actually American history. And you should take into consideration that you don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico. It's part of the United States. So if you want to experience a cultural revelation, you don't have to get a passport. You don't have to leave the US. You just have to be a little bit brave.
So far, we have seen many different opinions and many emotional reactions. Some people say the boycott is working, while others says it is unfair. But one thing is clear: many people are upset and they want their voice to be heard. When communities feel ignored or disrespected, they often look for way to send a message. For some people, that many messages is enough where they send their money. Others believed the boycott can create more division interest of solving problem. No matter which side you support, the story show how important respect, understanding, and communication really are. When people stop listening to each other, problems usually becomes bigger. But when people talk openly and honestly, there is always a chance to be find common ground. Now let's continue and look at more reaction and more opinion about this situation.
My favorite stories are when racism absolutely backfires in somebody's face, and I heard the best one today, and it's a true story. My father-in-law, older white gentleman from Massachusetts, but he has a beachfront property in the Bahamas. And apparently this is like a thing, because in his neighborhood on his island, there's like a lot of older white guys who did the same thing. Think of like New Yorkers moving to Florida when they retire, but there's a whole community of people that go even further and go straight to the Bahamas. So the story is about one of his neighbors, another older white guy living in the Bahamas, but still an American citizen. So this guy's in his 60s, maybe early 70s. He starts having chest pain. And of course, at that age, that can be very serious. So he calls emergency services to see where he can get from his tiny island to a hospital the fastest. Obviously, the closest hospital is in Nassau. But he asked them, like, is there any way I can get to Miami? Because his words, I don't want some witch doctor with my life in their hands. His words. So emergency services tells him, well, for that, it's going to be quite a trip by boat. And like, this is an emergency. You should just go to Nassau. And he's like, no, I want to go to Miami. And they're like, okay, well, we can see if there's a life flight available, like a helicopter to take you to Miami, but it's not going to be cheap. And he has that, that U.S. insurance that works abroad, but because this is an elective thing, like he's choosing to go to Miami instead of just going to Nassau, it's going to cost him a lot of money. And he's like, I don't care, it's my life, like, take me to Miami. So the life flight comes, takes him to Miami. It takes much longer than if he had just gone to Nassau, but he gets there. He goes to the hospital, sees a specialist. They tell him it's blah, 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 whatever, some kind of cardiac thing. The doctor in Miami goes, I can help, but I'm not really a specialist in this, Actually, one of the leading specialists in the world in your condition is at the hospital in Nassau. I'm going to call him for a consult, but you should try to get to Nassau if you can. By the way, your bill for the life flight, $75,000. Everything would have been free if he had stayed in the Bahamas, and he would have had the top specialist, like, in the world. And that's why racists are stupid.
Another MAGA supporter caught being racist towards a Somali couple and now loses their job. How much more proof do you need? Harry Sissom was one of the first one to bring us a story of a white woman who worked at a Cinnabon in Wisconsin who was caught on video hurling insults and racial slurs at a Somali couple. Now, instead of Harry letting it play out and let the facts come out, he insisted that that was a MAGA woman. But a simple search on her Facebook page would maybe tell a different story. I think you might have gotten this one wrong, so let's let this play out and see where it lands, because according to the photos on her own Facebook page, it shows Biden and Harris campaign signs in her front yard. It appears that this quote-unquote MAGA supporter might actually be a Biden and Harris supporter. But again, we don't need to let it play out. We just need likes, clicks, and narratives. That's what you go for, right, Harry? But not facts and accountability.
After watching all these stories, I think there is one lesson that stands above everything else. Every decision has consequences. Something people make decisions based on the emotion. Sometimes they make decisions based on anger. Sometimes they make decisions because they want to change. But no matter the reason, every choice creates a result. Many people believe that voting an certain way would make life better. Others want that things might become more difficult. Now people are looking at rising costs, business struggle, job concerns, and many other challenges, and they are asking questions. That is not politics, that is really when prices go up, families feel it. When businesses lose customer, families feel it. When workers lose job, family feel it. And when communities are divided, everyone feels it. One thing I noticed in all these videos is that many people are tried. They are tried to begin anger. They are tried to fighting. They are tried to hearing promises that every same of become reality. People want affordable food. People want affordable health care. People want stable jobs. People want a better future for their children. There are basic things that every families want. Another important point is that we should never believe that an entire group of people thinks exactly the same way. Not all conservatives think alike. Not all liberals think alike. Not all black Americans think alike. Not all Asian Americans think alike. Not all white Americans think alike. Every community has different voice, different experiences, and different opinion. That is why it is dangerous to judge millions of people because of the action of a few devolutions. I also think respect matters more than ever. You do not have to agree with someone to respect them. You do not have to support someone's politics to treat them with dignity. And you do not have to hate someone because they voted indirectly from you. And country becomes stronger when people become dangerous without becomes enemies. That is something many people seem to be forgetting today. We are seeing more division, more anger, more blame, but very few people are thinking about solution. The solution are what really matter. Become at the end of the day, political arguments do not pay bills. Political arguments do not put food on the table. Political arguments do not lower price. Real solutions do. I think many Americans are starting to realize that what matters most is not slogans. it is result. People can agree all day about politicians, but ordinary families care about what happens in their daily lives. Can they afford groceries? Can they pay rent? Can they afford healthcare? Can they keep their businesses running? These questions are more important than political talking point. The biggest lesson is for me is very simple. Think carefully before making important decisions. Listen to different opinions. Do your own research. Do not follow everyone. Do not blindly follow everyone, and most important, pay attention for result, because promises sound good during companions, but results are what people live with every single day. In the end of the day, every vote matters, every choice matters, every action matters, and so sooner or later we all live with the consequences of the decisions we make. That is why wisdom is important. That is why responsibility is important. And that is why many people should always think about the future before making choice that affect millions of lives. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in comment below. Do you agree or disagree? I should love to hear your opinion, and I will see you the next video.